He's editor-in-chief of Breitbart News and a New York Times best-selling author. And on this podcast, he brings deep research, prescient analysis, and world-class guests. He's Alex Marlow, and this is The Alex Marlow Show.
All right, it is The Alex Marlow Show, and this is going to be fun today. We've got the hearings. They've begun for Donald Trump's cabinet. I'm excited about this, and I don't mean to do the announcer voice to start the show. I don't really love the announcer voice. There's a couple of things the podcasters do that I don't love. It's the announcer voice. We don't need that. It's supposed to be more of an intimate medium. And the other one is when you start the show by making a bunch of insider jokes and giggling with each other. Those are the two things I call out. So I don't mean to get too announcery on you because I am at the Breitbart Newsroom. We live for this stuff. This is our Landman. This is our Yellowstone. This is our NFL playoff Sunday. This is what we look forward to. And you don't get them that much. But watching these hearings, the heavyweights of the political class and the bureaucratic class butt up against each other is fun. That's sport for us, especially when I feel pretty good about how things are going to go. I guess if I feel like the stakes are too high, then maybe it's not as much fun. But it is pretty good. I'm feeling good about things overall. Pete Hegseth started today. I think it's a very good choice to start with Hegseth. I don't really know exactly how these things are put together, but tons of fireworks, and I've got a lot of audio. Before I give my commentary overall, I'm just going to give you a taste of some of it, and we're just going to go through. Misty's dutifully pulled a lot of the highlights so far. There's probably a few that came in toward the when we'd already started recording that I might have missed, but I think for the most part, this is going to be pretty cutting edge here. So let's start with some opening statement. Pete Hegseth, here he is.
You are correct. We undertook this responsibility with an obligation to the troops to do right by them for our warfighters. And what became very evident to us from the beginning, there was a coordinated smear campaign orchestrated in the media against us. That was clear from moment one. And what we knew is that it wasn't about me. Most of it was about President Donald Trump, who's had to endure the very same thing for much longer amounts of time. And he endured it in incredibly strong ways.
So I'm already liking right now, and you're not getting the full picture of it if you are if you're listening. But I love when people listen. I'm a listener personally. I'm not a watcher, but I know a lot of you are watchers, and I'm very grateful for all my watchers. We only have the best watchers. But he looks terrific. He's got a completely put together, completely alpha, and he's got the power suit, the bright blue, a bright red tie. He's got American flag. Scarf or whatever you call it, a pocket square. And he's not reading this opening statement. He's committed it to memory. He's presenting it in a relatable, personable way, but with exemplary body language, exactly the type of stuff you would look for in a leader. Let's see how he goes.
So we, in some ways, knew it was coming. We didn't understand the depth of the dishonesty that would come with it. So from story after story in the media, left-wing media, we saw anonymous source after anonymous source based on second or third hand accounts. And time again, stories would come out and people would reach out to me and say, you know, I've spoken to this reporter about who you really are, and I was willing to go on the record.
Yeah, it is. There's no flaws in it thus far. It's a very aggressive, very bold, full pushback, not giving an inch. Exactly the Trumpian way, exactly the Breitbart way, to be honest with you. So a very good start. Let's keep going.
But they didn't print my quote. They didn't print any of my quotes. Or I've worked with you for 10 years, or I was your accountant, or I was your chief operating officer, or I was your board member, or I was with you on 100 different tour stops for Concerned Veterans for America. No one called me. No one asked about your conduct on the record or off the record. Instead, a small handful of anonymous sources were allowed to drive a smear campaign, an agenda about me, because our left-wing media in America today, sadly, doesn't care about the truth. All they were out to do, Mr. Chairman, was to destroy me. And why do they want to destroy me? Because I'm a change agent and a threat to them, because Donald Trump was willing to choose me, to empower me, to bring the Defense Department back to what it really should be, which is warfighting. So I'm willing to endure these attacks. But what I will do is stand up for the truth and for my reputation.
He's already a star, or else I would say that's star-baking stuff. Exactly right. Full throw down the establishment media, bringing the facts, pointing out exactly specifically where they were unfair about him, and then making the biggest point, which is that they're not mad at him because he had an affair or because he drank too much. They're mad at him because he's a threat to the system. And the Defense Department has become about wokeness, and it's become about kickbacks to the defense industry and not about making sure that we are the best armed forces in the world that is the best at warfighting and nothing else, and that's all that matters. And Hegseth wants that, and he's a champion for veterans. He has been for a long time. I was just reading today how he was very high on Trump's list for Veterans Affairs in 2016. But, he's in his mid-30s, and that's a big job for someone in their mid-30s. And he could have done it, I'm sure, but it was Trump, I guess, ended up deciding he was too young, didn't do it. But he's not new to this stuff. The guy has Ivy League degrees. He is been highly active, both as a veteran both in combat and then as a veteran. And it doesn't hurt that he's on TV. It's this whole thing that you can't be a straight, white, handsome conservative without having some sort of controversy swirling around you. We went through the same thing yesterday or a couple days ago with Rick Caruso out in California, where it's like he loses ground because there's just something not right about this guy. He doesn't have enough woke points. Well, Hegseth has no woke points. He's got negative woke points. He's got a "We the People" tattoo on his wrist, on his forearm. The woke crowd doesn't like that. But that's not an argument. The arguments against him are non-existent. The arguments against him, as we're going to play when I play some of the exchanges with some of the Democrats, are that he's not a great guy. Okay, well, good luck staffing up the whole bureaucracy with people who only have pristine moral character. I got some more. I got to keep playing this opening statement. So good.
False attacks, anonymous attacks, repeated ad nauseum, printed as nauseum, as facts. We have provided to the committee, Mr. Chairman, and I know you're going to share, on-the-record statement after on-the-record statement from people who have served with me, worked with me at Fox News, Concerned Vets, Vets for Freedom, you name it, from the top of the chain to the bottom, who will say, I treat them with respect, with kindness, with dignity. That's men, that's women, that's black, that's white, that's every background. I have prided myself as a leader of respecting people, being professional. That is the balance of mine. I'm not a perfect person, as has been acknowledged. Saved by the grace of God, by Jesus and Jenny. I'm not a perfect person, but redemption is real. And God forged me in ways that I know I'm prepared for. And I'm honored by the people standing and sitting behind me, and look forward to leading this Pentagon on behalf of the warfighters.
Amazing. Absolutely fantastic. Sensational. It'll be look, there's so much at Breitbart that I'm proud of that we've done, but I think we, more than just about anyone else, everyone's with us for the most part, but I feel like we are very much the tip of the spear of the pushback on Hegseth's behalf. I'm deeply proud of that, and I think that we were a positive part of history if he gets through. I hope he does. And we'll play some more clips, but definitely the type of person you want to go to battle with and for. So very cool. Great statement. You could see that he just the right amount of emotion in there where he feels like he taking this stuff seriously, feeling the gravity of it, but also not afraid of it. Also feels like he's forged. I like that, like steel. Cool. Good stuff. We've got some pushback from the Democrats. You're going to get the fireworks. I don't have all of it, so we might have a little more tomorrow. But I've got quite a bit. Here's Mazie Hirono, the dumbest person in the Senate. Here we go.
2020, then President Trump directed former Secretary of Defense Mark Esper to shoot protesters in the legs in downtown D.C., an order Secretary Esper refused to comply with. Would you carry out such an order from President Trump?
Senator, I was in the Washington, D.C. National Guard unit that was in Lafayette Square during those events.
Would you carry out an order to shoot protesters in the legs?
I saw 50 Secret Service agents get injured by rioters trying to jump over the fence, set the church on fire, and destroy a statue.
That sounds to me that you will comply with such an order. You will shoot protesters in the leg. Moving on.
Oh, that's so good. It's the, oh, shoot. I messed up my board here. I'd say you have to bear with me for a second, folks. Okay, good. All right, I fixed it. I love it because she wouldn't let him answer. And this is the whole point with these hearings where these are important because these have stakes. But when I was a slightly younger man, I would say, 6 or 8 years ago, 10 years ago, that I would have my setup, and you can see this is memorialized in New York Times Magazine that did a big profile on me after Trump won. You'd see my setup where I'm editing the front page at Breitbart, and I had a TV right over my workstation when I worked in D.C., and it was basically C-SPAN 24/7. That was the move. I like C-SPAN because I wanted to watch all the hearings because I liked the theater of it, but it felt like it was of consequence. It felt like a TV show with consequences to me. And then I started to burn out on it because I felt like the hearings ended up being fundraising events for the various congressmen, senators, et cetera, that they're mostly preening and they weren't really trying to accomplish anything. And it devolves into that. So keep that in mind as you're watching some of these, that what's the real objective of Mazie Hirono? The real objective is not stopping him. The real objective is to be able to go back to our constituents and say, I did X, Y, or Z to stop this bad man, this cis hetero white man. So I'm not familiar with the instance where I guess Trump was wanting people to get shot in the legs or something or protesting. I don't believe it. I didn't even bother to. I knew I was going to play this clip, and I didn't bother to look into it. I didn't think it was super important. But the main part was Hegseth was there, and she wouldn't let him talk. That's what I liked. All right, here's Tim Kaine, who you may remember was the vice presidential nominee for Democrats. I know it's hard to believe. If you went on the street and you asked 100 people who it was Tim Kaine ever the vice presidential nominee, like what would they say? Or a better question would be, do you remember who Hillary Clinton's vice presidential pick was? How many people would say yes to this? Almost no one, right? We pretty much no one. All right, here's Tim Kaine.
Of a child that had been born 2 months before, and you tell us you are completely cleared. How is that a complete clear?
Senator, her child's name is Gwendolyn Hope Hegseth, and she's a child of God, and she's 7 years old.
And she was, and you cheated on the mother of that child less than 2 months after that daughter was born, didn't you?
Those were false charges.
Well,
it was fully investigated, and I was completely cleared. And I am so grateful for the marriage I have to this amazing woman behind me.
You've admitted that you had sex at that hotel in October 2017. You said it was consensual, isn't that correct?
Anything...
You've admitted that it was consensual, and you were still married, and you just had a child by another woman.
Again,
how do you explain your judgment?
Completely false charges against me. You fully investigated, and I was completely clear.
You have admitted that you had sex while you were married to wife 2 after you just had fathered a child by wife 3. You've admitted that. Now,
So what he can't say, because he doesn't want to cause any fireworks, and this is Hegseth's job, it's important to understand this stuff, is that his job is to not create fireworks. His job is for this to be as mild as possible and to move on. And there were fireworks because they came out very hard. But really the retort here is, what does this have to do with the Pentagon? What does this have to do with my ability to help veterans? What does this have to do with my ability to clean house of all the woke generals? What does this have to do with us to try to rein in the defense sector? And so the defense contractors aren't the ones who are determining our foreign policy so they can make more money. Those are his real roles and responsibilities when he takes over the Pentagon. So none of this has to do with his qualifications for that. It has to do with a moral turpitude. And of course, in a perfect world, I would like for everything that Tim Kaine said to be false. I don't know if all of it's false. He certainly seems like Hegseth has had some zipper issues, to put it mildly, but nothing criminal. He cleared of all the investigations. And hopefully, as he says, he's found Jesus and become a better husband and father. You can't be a Christian and not believe in redemption and not root for people that have redemption. And you're signing up for a really depressing life if you think that anytime someone has made a mistake or has one part of their character that's imperfect, that they should be discarded, that they can't serve at the Pentagon because they have some moral failings. January 20th is the day, and Washington, D.C. is the place. That's when and where Donald Trump will be inaugurated as the 47th president of the United States. He gets a whole new inauguration. It was already 45th. Now it'll be 47. And we want to send you there. You can win a once-in-a-lifetime VIP experience to attend the inauguration in Washington, D.C. It includes airfare for you and a guest to Washington, a 3-night stay in our nation's capital, tickets for the presidential inauguration, and much more. Don't miss this historic opportunity. to celebrate the greatness, the history, the excitement of a presidential inauguration. To enter, you see the link in the show notes for this episode, or go to SalemPodcastNetwork.com/Trump. Guys, I've said this, that this is the marquee event on anyone's social calendar for the year, really for the decade for most people. And you get a chance to go. I don't see why you wouldn't give it a shot. Salem Podcast Network/Trump. All you got to do, and you'll get your name on the list. And let's see if you can win. I hope you do. What a lame world we live in if that was the case. And that's the implication that Timmy Kaine wants all of us to have. And we should all reject it wholesale. All of us. All be offended. I'll tell you, I met Mrs. Dr. Marlow when I was 17 years old. And we've been together ever since. It'll be 21 years since our first date in 2 days. I have no sympathy for Hegseth on his moral failings with women. I don't get it. I don't dig it. I don't like it. It is irrelevant to his ability in his mid-40s to be able to lead the Pentagon. Nothing to do with it. So we all have our issues. And are they relevant to his job to serve the president who we elected as the Secretary of Defense? Nothing. Nothing to do with it. All right, we got some more. Let's see. We got this has been labeled by Misty as a outburst. Let's play Outburst. What is this going to be? This is going to be good, I'm sure.
Having my back.
You are a misogynist. Not only that, you are a Christian Zionist. And you support the war in Gaza by the Zionists.
Good. You know, people melting down in the courtroom. It doesn't look good. I think it all helps Hegseth. All helps him. All right. Kristen Gillibrand, another person who is New York senator, and she makes it her business to get mad at people. Let's see what she does.
So women you have denigrated. You have also denigrated members of the LGBTQ community. Did you know that when Don't Ask, Don't Tell was in place, we lost so many crucial personnel, over 1,000 in mission critical areas. We lost 10% of all our foreign language speakers because of a political policy.
All right, I'm just pausing that there because we're going to do this again. She's just hectoring him, yelling at him about the Q plus community. I want to know if we're going to win wars. Are we picking the best people? Are we spending money wisely? Are we recruiting the best people so that we can win wars? That's the question. Don't care about the Q pluses right now. Worry about them later. She's yelling at everyone. She's fundraising. It's all fundraising. She's out of touch. People are all out of touch. Exasperating. Trying to destroy people over this. I'm going to play this again. Let's go. Let's do it.
So women you have denigrated. You have also denigrated members of the LGBTQ community. Did you know that when Don't Ask, Don't Tell was in place, we lost so many crucial personnel, over 1,000 in mission critical areas. We lost 10% of all our foreign language speakers because of a political policy. You said in your statement, you don't want politics in the DOD. Everything you've said in these public statements is politics. I don't want women. I don't want moms. What's wrong with a mom, by the way? Once you have babies, you therefore are no longer able to be lethal.
Okay, so let me comment on some of this on Pete's behalf because he can't say anything controversial. He's not hosting a talk show here, and I'm sure he's got to show a lot of discipline as a talk show host, professional talk show host. But there's a lot of retorts here. First of all, with Don't Ask, Don't Tell, let's just ask: do you think our military is better or worse? Do you feel? And I don't know for sure. I'm not a military person, but I'm just asking rhetorically. Do you think that we've gotten stronger or weaker since that policy went away? Do you think that it's a less chaotic environment and more appealing for the strongest and the best to serve, or less? That's all I'm saying. And why? What was the logic to that policy? The logic to that policy is sexuality is no place in the military. It should be an asexual environment. And for human beings, particularly people who are going to be some of our highest T individuals, are going to be dominating this environment, then it's going to be really hard to have a environment where it's as low, sexuality is as limiting of a factor as possible, as limited of a factor as possible. So that's a real human consideration, that you want to remove sexual stuff from the military as much as possible for people who are running very high in their testosterone levels. Not easy to do and should be taken seriously. Now, does that new policy, does that help us do that? Of course not. But it does satisfy various interest groups. It satisfies various woke causes. That's the goal of it. It's leftism. It's not trying to make the military as good as possible. And I don't know what Pete said about women. Maybe it was some sort of offhanded comment about how mothers shouldn't be serving. I mean, you have to consider. I try to remain partially agnostic on this because I haven't served, and there are mothers who I know who have served, and it's not really my place to say that that's never possible. But I will say on a broader level, on a general level, as a society, why would you want the moms in combat and not with the children when the stronger, larger males are not fighting the wars on their behalf? I would like to see the stronger, larger males who are biologically superior at war fighting on balance. I'm not saying every man's stronger than every woman, all the necessary caveats, but on balance, wouldn't you prefer if young, strong males are the ones who are fighting the wars and not the moms who could potentially die and then not get to raise the babies and are going to be physically weaker on average? I'm not saying they need to be banned. I'm just saying that in an ideal world, the amount of mothers who are serving in combat, for me, is zero. It is. Feel free to clip that out of context. I'm not saying that there isn't some exception in some scheme where you could dunk on me for that. Maybe you can. But overall, the goal should be zero. It should. Once your mom should be able to be with the babies and let the young men go and defend the country. That's the goal. So is it that perfect? Are there some women who are 10 times a warrior that I would be? I'm sure. Of course. But we have to speak sometimes in broad terms because we're talking about hundreds of thousands of people. And we have to set a goal. And I don't think it's an unreasonable goal to say, we should have moms in combat. So you don't have to yell at us if you disagree. Make an argument why it's so great to have mothers fighting in combat. I would like to hear that argument. The only argument is equality, and that's not making the military better. It's about some sort of a woke progressive cause. All right, let's keep going.
I mean, you're basically saying women after they have children can't ever serve in the military in a combat role. It's a silly thing to say. It's a silly thing.
It's not silly. It's not silly. You can disagree, but it's not silly. I understand people who think women should be free to do what they want. I'm a pro-freedom person. And if the military feels like that they can accommodate that, then look, I'm not the authority on this, as I said. But overall, it's not silly to suggest that the fairer sex that is physically weaker and does have babies now, that they would not be the ones in a combat zone. We're not in that many combat zones where it's necessary. It's not necessary. So if she disagrees, just disagree. Raise the disagreement. Be reasonable. Screaming at everyone. All right.
It's a silly thing to say beneath the position that you are aspiring to. To denigrate LGBTQ service members is a mistake. If you are a sharpshooter, you're as lethal regardless of what your gender identity is, regardless of who you love. So please know this.
Who you love? Let me let her finish.
Please know this to be.
Yeah, okay. So it's the T stuff has nothing to do with who you love. It has to do with whether or not you have some sort of concept of your own gender that's not rooted in science. The T's, you don't know who the T's love. So why do they distill it to that? That's not what it's about. And it's not just about love. It's also about human sexuality and not distracting people who are trying to win our wars. Are these people all ignorant? Anyway, it's exciting, right? Isn't that fun? It's good stuff. Love it. Love it. Well, Pete's standing his ground. I've got very high hopes. Democrats tried to give Hegseth different confirmation rules that Biden's DOD pick, Lloyd Austin, didn't have. We broke down the story at Breitbart.com. Always going to get supplement of the show at Breitbart. Just know that is, I can't call out my peers at Breitbart and my colleagues enough on that. So it's the backbone of the show is Breitbart content, just to let you know. So there's always going to be more if you go to Breitbart. But the Democrats on the Senate Armed Services Committee, this guy, Jack Reed, he tried to give Hegseth different rules for his confirmation that Lloyd Austin didn't have. Reed wanted to have a second round of questions, and I think the Republicans have successfully shut that down. Here's Reid lecturing, not questioning, lecturing Hegseth. Let's see.
Indeed, the challenge of the Secretary of Defense is to remove partisan politics from the military. You propose to inject it. This would be an insult to the men and women who have sworn to uphold their own apolitical duty to the Constitution. Mr. Hegseth, you are the 9th nominee for Secretary of Defense that I've had the honor to consider as a member of the Senate Armed Services Committee. I have voted in favor of all your predecessors, including those in the first Trump administration. Unfortunately, you lack the character and composure and competence to hold the position of Secretary of Defense. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator Reid.
I got to tell you, if I'm kind of mad at Kristen Gillibrand, but I'm actually happy with her because I think she looks horrible. Reid should be much more mad at her, because if that was the tenor of the conversation, that you lack the character and the composure because you apparently got drunk at a work party and you sip out on your wife, maybe it would sound more credible. But just yelling at him that the T's not being able to serve in combat because they're also mothers is like, that's not going to be an argument that most of the country finds resonant. So anyway, but just know that guy also tried to cheat by trying to make it harder for Hegseth to get confirmed than Austin, who he was cool with. Because remember, getting drunk at a party or stepping on your wife, not okay, but being on the board of a defense contractor that makes money when America goes to war and sends our young men and women to die, our mothers, sending our mothers to go die in war, that their company makes more money, that's okay. Worth considering. Hegseth was trying to talk about actual issues like how the Afghanistan withdrawal went poorly for the country. Imagine that. So he came out swinging, holding his ground, pointing out the witch hunt. All that's very good. All that's very good. Okay, so much more tomorrow. We get hearings the rest of the week. So that's going to be the backbone of the show, I imagine. And I live for it, as you can tell. I really get animated by these clips. So will that to come. Other news, fire still dominating. We're in a very scary environment in California right now, still. We have high winds cresting over 70 miles an hour, 70 mile an hour winds still. New fire popped up in Oxnard, which is another coastal region that is directly to my west, where I'm at now. Not particularly close. I guess it's maybe 10, 20 miles northwest of Malibu. So not connected, but at the River Ridge Golf Course, where I've played many times. Played River Ridge many times, lost a lot of balls in those hills. I was thinking about this, about with the Palisades Park also, where there's another fire. I was wondering if there's a plaque out there, the Palisades Park. It's a famous plaque. And it memorializes when 9-year-old Alex Marlow struck out twice in the same inning. And I'm wondering if that plaque is still there. So it's one of my biggest indignities as a athlete. I was pretty good growing up, but I did have one inning where I led off the inning. I was playing at Palisades Park, and I struck out. And then my whole team batted around. Everyone's hitting the ball all over the diamond. And then I struck out to end the inning. So that was, do you know how devastating that was? I was either 9 or 10 at the time. I still cringe. I don't even want to, at 38 years old, I don't want to tell this story to the audience. It's that painful for me. So I'm wondering if my plaque is still there. It's probably not. It's probably not. It was big news. People making fun of me all over the place. All right. To go from the absurd to the deadly serious, 12,000 torched homes thus far. As I noted, the point of comparison, the Bel Air fires that we still talk about from 60 years ago at 500. And we're just going to start seeing dead bodies pile up. I say this to all of you, and I still got emails. Some of them, I got to admit, somewhat well-reasoned and well-argued, but I just don't get it. Some just saying that California lecturing us Californians and saying that you guys aren't going to get a penny and you got what you voted for. It's like a bomb went off in our city. So there's a lot of good people out here for us to have to deal with this and for everyone to be so smug and superior about it. The scope of the fires is now considerably larger than what an atomic bomb would have been in terms of the amount of scorched earth. So I'm not saying that there can be radiation or massive fallout to nuclear bomb level, but man, this is a close second. And what I'm nervous about is we're going to start seeing dead bodies, and we don't know how many we're going to get. But their older people did not get out. The amount of pets. Has PETA said anything? Is this the biggest animal slaughter that we've seen, outside of the meat industry? I mean, how many animals are dead? It's so horrible. You lose everything, and then you realize your cat probably burned alive and all this. Let's be decent to each other, please. My goodness. We're just beginning to understand the damage. Folks, pay attention, because this is as serious as it gets. Kamala Harris and Joe Biden are racing to lock in radical policies before Trump takes office on January the 20th. They're not just winding down. They're cementing their control. Biden's already signed Executive Order 14067, and banks are actively testing a government-controlled digital dollar right now. This isn't about modernizing currency. It's about total control. They want to track every dollar you earn, save, and spend. Every single one. And here's the kicker. Once the system's fully implemented, it'll be nearly impossible for Trump to undo it. The radical left and their global elite allies will have permanent grips on your financial life long after they're out of power. Trump's called this a dangerous threat to freedom, and J.D. Vance warns it can mean total government control over your finances. Folks, this is real, and it's happening now. But you're not powerless. My friends at Priority Gold have created a wealth preservation guide to help you fight back. It lays out 3 critical steps to shield your savings from this overreach. All you have to do is text FREEDOM to 24999 right now and get your guide. That's FREEDOM to 24999 or visit PriorityGold.com. Don't wait. Text FREEDOM to 24999 today and shield what's yours. Luckily, we've got some help. Big Joey the Biden's coming in, giving a one-time payment of $770 to people who are affected by the fires. These are multi-million-dollar homes. I bet the average home that's burned in all this is $2 million. This is one of the richest neighborhoods in the Palisades fire. The Eaton fire is going to have a lot of damage too. There's other fires. But the Palisades is one of the nicest areas in LA. In LA, the nicest areas are Palisades, Bel Air, Malibu, Beverly Hills, Hancock Park. Those are kind of the wealthiest neighborhoods. There's a few others, but this is a plus real estate on planet Earth. These are expensive places to live. $770 might be a night in a hotel around here. Might be. Maybe 2 if you're going cheap. So what's the point? For the guy who doesn't run out of $100 billion bills to give to Ukraine. How much are you giving to Ukraine? Massive amounts to Ukraine, and $770 for his own citizens. There's a lot of hope with Nathan Hochman, who is the George Gascon's replacement. He is the incoming DA, and other than Newsom, he's been out there the most, announcing charges for 3 criminals who stole a bunch of stuff from evacuated homes. 2 is going to face life in prison. 1's going to face 22 years. Daily Mail has got a lot of the mugshots up of a lot of the criminals on their front page. And, just very devastating that these are just sick people, insane people. And they're to take advantage of people, to loot, to burn, to take more. I was reminded of this. I was reading something. I was just reminded of this, that it's just one of these points that Dennis Prager makes that it bears repeating so often, is that humans are not inherently good. We're just not. The humanity is just individual humans. Sure, there's many individual humans who are, but as humanity as a whole, there's so much bad, and we have to be on the lookout. We have to be on defense. We can't assume the good is going to happen to us. You have to take a approach that we're on defense, and then we're delighted when things go our way and people are good. But we can't take an approach that we're expecting everyone to look out for us. There's so many acts of heroism, so many neighbors putting out fires for other neighbors. Joel Pollack's been documenting this on his X account and for us at Breitbart News. But there's so many others who are just, hey, let's just loot, start some more fires. But a lot of hope with Nathan Hochman that he's going to restore some sense of law and order, which has completely left the city. Less hope for me with the governor, Gavin Newsom, he's been out there the most. He's been the one who's been the most vocal. Let's see what the governor is up to. This clip's a day or two old, but I have to play it because it's so important to watch the body language. This is one where you will miss out if you're not watching on YouTube or Rumble.
We're dealing with a myriad of issues. I was just talking to Josh Green, the governor down in Hawaii, who had some ideas around some land use concerns he has around speculators.
Okay, I'm playing that back for you.
Down in Hawaii, who had some ideas around some land use concerns he has around speculators.
So for those of you who are just listening, he's doing this shimmy shake that I've never seen this before. He's such a strange looking person. I mean, he's handsome, but he's very skinny, and he does the hair with he's got the slick back hair, which is, it's a little too put together for at the scene of, 9/11. Just what this looks like. It's odd shimmy. I'm trying to replicate it on the streams right now. It is very strange, very strange. It's weird body language. I would like for somebody to analyze what's going on. People have been fascinated with it online for good reason, and why is he talking about speculators? We're so far off. We're months and months and months off from clearing out all of the damage that's been done. We have no idea if the insurance companies can pay for stuff, and there's going to be a lot of construction that's going to go up, hopefully as soon as possible. I'm sure she's going to deregulate, which I mentioned on yesterday's show is a sign that we have too much regulation to begin with, so that people can get stuff up. But what is this dance he was doing? Man, I didn't get the clip pulled in time, but we have a little pencil neck Adam Schiff saying the reservoirs were full at the initiation of these fires. They're so willing to lie. They're so willing to lie. He said the reservoirs were full at the initiation of these fires. Unequivocal, complete falsehood. Reservoirs completely empty. All right, I'm going to continue to balance the shows. It won't be fire obsession, but it's going to be going on. Again, I'll be shocked if it's not story of the year. And luckily, Alex Marlow Show, I can guarantee, will give you the best, most comprehensive coverage in the podcast universe on this one because of the nature of where I am and where Breitbart is situated relative to these fires. So I will continue to do my best. Other stuff that's going on, Kamala Harris declined to invite J.D. Vance for a courtesy visit to the vice president's residence during or before the inauguration. So typically the vice president invites the incoming vice president to give them a tour, show them around. So when J.D. Vance and his 3 young kids and his wife move into the Naval Observatory in a few days, then it'll be their first time there because Kamala Harris did not have the decency. Yeah, remember Doug Emhoff, he was allegedly banging on the nannies. And literally and figuratively. Allegedly. I say that for the lawyers. He's a great guy. And then Harris won't invite the Vance family over. They might be going up against each other in 4 years. It bodes very strange. It's a very strange thing because Harris is going to be the front runner for 2028 and Vance is the front runner for 2028. They're the 2 front runners. I don't think either of them are guaranteed. JD's still very young, just turned 40. And he'll have to figure out some way to distinguish himself because you can bet that a lot of other Republicans will in the meantime. Marco Rubio, Ron DeSanctimonious. I mean, there's going to be a lot of them out there who are going to be doing stuff that's going to be impressive. So there's going to be, Mike Pompeo's got his eye on it. There's going to be some competition. So the question is, will they make it to the end? I don't know, but they're the front runners, and Harris is choosing not to get along with them. Remember what Michelle Obama used to say when they go low, we go high? Well, she's going to skip Donald Trump's inauguration. So she missed Jimmy Carter's funeral. She's going to skip the inauguration. I love that she's missing it because she's always going to be a threat as a political savior for the Democrats. And she's someone they could parachute in towards the end of a campaign because she's got full name ID. She doesn't need to introduce herself to everyone. So she continues to be, I think, a threat. I think she doesn't like this country. I don't think she wants to be president. I think that if people get to know her, they won't like her. I think that she's well liked by the left, but not the moderates. So maybe polls disagree with me, but I think that once people get to know her, they're not going to like her. But I like that she's making this move because, first of all, who needs her? I don't need to see her there. And also, I think it hurts her politically. And I think this hurts Harris politically. it's really, I continue to track one of the narratives that is interesting to me is how the resistance, how the left is going to deal with this. Are they going to double down with their leftism and their lies, or are they going to try to balance things out? And one of the things that, you see Harris saying, not inviting JD to the Naval Observatory. I'm going to do the Gavin Newsom shimmy. It's for no reason, just because I feel like it. Like her not inviting JD, I think that hurts her politically because she's basically pandering to a left-wing audience. She's not being classy. She's not trying to appeal to normal people. So you look at Rachel Maddow is going to return to MSNBC 5 nights a week. So MSNBC takes their most radical, most freakish person. Rachel Maddow is a nut. Read Breaking the News. She's a nut. And she gets $25 million a year. And she works 1 day a week. She was getting $30 million to work 1 day a week. And now she's going to do, for the first Trump 100 days, she's going to be on every night. She's a face of a major TV network, so that's not a small feat in terms of a career person. She's a good career woman. She's got a good business. Makes a lot of money. I'm impressed by that to some degree. But she's terrible at telling the truth to her audience. And she's not that persuasive, clearly, because she's been anti-Trump since day one, and Trump is doing well. MSNBC's president, Rashida Jones, is going to step down. She's been there for 4 years. A lot of promise over there, did a terrible job. So the question is, who is going to be her replacement? Someone named Rebecca Cutler is going to be the interim president. Unfamiliar with her. Network senior vice president, I'll look into her. She was been in the network for a couple years. I'm sure she's done great stuff. But it didn't go well for MSNBC because their credibility is not good. The media space is very confused about what to do. Do you go more left with more Maddow, or do you try to balance it out with more conservative voices? You guys know my belief. My belief is that they will ultimately go more left because it is too risky to go more moderate, because it looks sort of silly. We're watching it a little bit with the LA Times, where this guy, Patrick Soon-Shiong, who is the billionaire who owns the paper, trying to pander to conservatives all of a sudden after completely running over. I mean, it's not just him, but the LA Times was a constant presence in the Marlow household when I was growing up. And it just became the ultimate left-wing rag, the most Trump derangement you could ever read. No conservative voices aside from those who hate Trump, if ever. The news reporting was almost always not factual. The paper became almost all advertisements because, and paper thin, because they couldn't afford to have real journalism anymore because people kept unsubscribing. Partially because the paper stunk. I know a lot of it's the digital revolution, but a lot of it was that the content was not good. So terrible paper, total disgrace, absolutely bears a lot of the blame for these fires because they did nothing to keep watch over their cities. They endorsed Karen Bass, who cut the fire department budget, who's an actual Marxist, over Rick Caruso, the builder and water commissioner. So they have blood on their hands. But they got the owner now all of a sudden sees the woke moment's over and he's trying to regain some sort of a foothold. And it looked kind of silly to me. Look, if he calls me up, I'm a Los Angelino. If he calls me up, I'll take his call. I'll talk to him. I mean, the city would benefit from better paper. So I guess I'm rooting for him, I guess. But it does look silly that he's out there trying to act like he wants to be credible now. So that's going to be the big question. So do you do more Maddow or less Maddow? Do you do more conservatives or do you do fewer? Because do you try to keep that left-wing core audience that wants the anti-Trump stuff with you, or do you try to expand? Because if you try to expand, you might look like a goofball. It might not work. So maybe you're better off doubling down on Maddow and keeping the people who are left happy. A real curio for me has been our friend Jennifer Rubin, who's leaving the Washington Post. I mentioned this briefly on yesterday's show, but I pulled some Rubin clips. You guys know that this sensational drop that we played in the show many times. I'll play it for you one more time.
Republicans want to kill your kids.
Yeah, that's what she thinks. She started a new outlet, and I didn't know that I mentioned that she's a new outlet, and it's called The Contrarian. And I was kind of skeptical of the name because she's not a contrarian, really. But then I was thinking about it, and I was thinking saying Republicans want to kill your kids is contrarian. Even the left isn't really out there saying we want to kill our kids. We're having the most kids. And we don't like abortions. So I don't think we want to kill kids. And I'm sure she had some sort of strained logic to it, but the main point is, yeah, all right. So she's out there, and she's got a ad for her new site, The Contrarian, with this guy Norm Eisen into the Brookings Institute, and he looks like Eugene Levy, the actor. And look it up. Look it up if you don't know who I'm talking about. I think you do. I'm not familiar with Norm Eisen, and I'm sure he's a wonderful guy. I don't know. But anyway, here's what they're doing to sell you on their new endeavor.
Hi, I'm Jen Rubin.
And I'm Norm Eisen.
I am here to announce I am leaving the Washington Post in order to co-found with Norm an exciting new online platform, The Contrarian. We are going to bring you written material, podcasts, interviews, social media, all in defense of democracy. Okay, my first take is I find it adorable. I'm going to be contrarian here. It's cute. It's cute to me. She's a loathsome person, so don't. But I find this energy to be hilarious. She's out there. They clearly in a home office. There's little kid stuff. There's little glue sticks and stuff. So probably a grandkid uses this desk to do their little art. And they're talking about their new outlet, and they're going to bring us social media. All right. I have to say, I've been feeling my age a little bit over the last couple of years. I think people who have heard me pop up in media, who were, probably heard me. I guess I got on air. I was 30, 31, somewhere in there when I was on air regularly. And maybe it was before. Maybe I was 29 when I started on air. And I think people know that I've been feeling my age a little bit. I turn 39 next week. And I think about what I want for the length of my life. And I hope I have the energy when I'm 70 years old or however old she is to launch a new brand and just to shamelessly go out there in front of my grandkids' art projects and just say, I'm going to bring you social media. It's great. It really is. So I'm going to be a contrarian and say, I dig it. Let's hear some more. Our intent is to combat the authoritarian force that we all face. To help us, we have an exciting array of contributors from all walks of life, all ages, all backgrounds to help us in this venture.
We're going to do politics. We're going to do law. But we know that any successful pro-democracy movement also has to be very vocal about. So he's going to say culture. So I want to get that. But I just want to keep observing how Norm Eisen, he's so happy. And I think it's his hairline. His hairline is better than mine. I don't know how old he is. He's got to be in his 70s, right? And it's just like, well, what is this about? Look, guys, you got to be a little more subtle here with you got to be a little more subtle here with some of the enhancements we do to keep up our appearance. And Jennifer Rubin's hair is raven black, just jet black. It's not plausible. Can we do a little salt and pepper for Jen? And I recommend Norm. I don't know if he's got a piece on. I might be a piece. I'm going to go with this as a piece. And if he did the plugs, he might have already, I mean, can you really maintain a hairline at this level? Maybe you can. I got to tell you, my dad, Robert, he's got a luscious mane. His flow is far superior to mine. And I'm, 30 years younger than he is. So maybe Norm Eisen's just blessed, but I'm very distracted by how thick his hairline is. Continuing. About culture. We'll have a humor column. We'll even have a cooking column, but we're going to sprinkle in a little bit of pro-democracy flavor. And we're going to have a cooking column with pro-democracy flavor. They've got jokes, flavor, double entendre. I said on yesterday's show, I think instead of ignoring this outlet, I'm going to cover it. And we're going to give them tons of publicity. And we're going to make them a punching bag, but it's going to be worth it, even if they get subscribers and they get attention, because it's just too good. It's just too good. This is my dream. They're going to have a cooking column with pro-democracy flavor. If the Babylon Bee wrote that dialogue, you would think that is almost it's too on the nose. There's such a plethora of recipes online. You get them from the Master Chef. You get them from the home cook chefluencers. You get it from all the various cookbooks that are plugging their stuff online. Everyone's got a cookbook now. Every celebrity you've ever seen's got a cookbook. But we need Norm Eisen teaching us how to make a pro-democracy recipe. No one wants this. Literally no one wants this. And they're so excited about it and confident. I love the confidence. And we're going to have pets. We're very pro-pets.
So please,
pro pets,
join us in this journey. We cannot do this without you. We want your contributions, your input, your ideas.
Thank you for joining The Contrarian.
Oh, I'll be there with you, Norm. You guys are the best. That's the most fun I've had all year. And thank you all of you in the audience for indulging me with that. That was a blast. Absolute blast. I did pull this clip of Jennifer Rubin on Bill O'Reilly's show. That I have a deep respect for Bill. We'll have him on next time he comes out with a book. We always have great talk when he's here. He's one of the hardest workers in media, and I love people who put in the intellectual effort into things because not everyone does. Bill does, and really top-notch broadcaster. And here he is with Jennifer Rubin, and Jennifer Rubin just makes an absolute clown of herself, and I couldn't resist playing this.
You've made excuses for the lock her up comment. You've pleaded with Ted Cruz, and he's really an honest man.
When did I make excuses for lock her up? What did I exactly say?
Let's see. That would have been on. Let's see if I have the date exactly. It would have been on. Lock her up would have been on in April and also in August.
Okay, so those of you who are not watching, she is trying to dunk on Bill. She's still got too much Just for Men or whatever it is in her hair. It looks too black. And she's trying to read some notes that she brought to the TV set because she has not committed to memory what are the bad things Bill said, and she thinks that she's got some sort of a strange game plan where she's going to read some notes, but she can't. She's fumbling through the notes on live TV. Those of you who are paying attention, you understand this about live TV. It is so fast-paced, and so much effort goes into each minute. They've got it down to the second where the ratings are at. That's how the medium operates. That's why very rarely do people do more than an hour a day, and 2/3 or 1/3 of the hour is commercials. It is tight. You move fast. I can't tell you how many days I've spent where the whole day revolves around a 3-minute TV appearance where I do half the talking. So I'm talking for 70 seconds and the whole day revolves around it. These seconds are precious on cable news. And she's out there. She's got a chance to debate Bill O'Reilly. She wants to take him on. And she's spending all these seconds fumbling through paperwork. This is unthinkable that anyone's actually been on TV once.
In August, in October, if you remember, Charles Krauthammer came on and had a very vigorous argument.
Wait a minute. What did I say about in April and August? What exactly did I say?
Right. Well, we can go through all of them.
No, I want that one.
Which one in particular?
April or August.
Okay. Let's see.
With April or August, what did I say? Well, what do you want in particular? April or August? Of course.
In August, let's see. We had comments that you would, if somebody is being really dishonest, referring to the press corps, you would strip them of their credentials as well. Doesn't sound like an independent thing.
That doesn't have anything to do with lock them up. You are ill prepared for this interview, Ms. Rubin.
No, I'm not. I have a whole list here.
Ms. Rubin, I have just given you a minute where you've hemmed and hawed. You said you said I justified a comment, lock her up. You can't point to it, and then you pivot to something else.
Yes,
you are ill prepared for this, and this is the point I want to make.
Bill.
This is the point I want to make. Your column and blog are a fraud. We have been tough on Trump here, and I'm going to roll some tape.
No, it's not. You play this little montage for all your guests. It shows the three things that you said mean about him.
What did the Washington Post and others see in this woman? She's not impressive at all. She's very annoying. She's just a gift to us. And I hope the Contrarian does well. I really do. It's amazing. That was awesome. I want to ask Bill next time he comes on. I want to ask him if he had fun during that. I really hope he had fun. As someone who's interviewed many people, just those moments don't come up that much where you have the ability to really enjoy yourself. These shows are always fun, but very rarely do you get a moment that could be that fun. I mean, that's a once every couple year opportunity. So I hope he enjoyed himself. Maybe he didn't. Maybe he thought that it was too insulting of his program that she showed up and did that. I hope you had a good time. That was great. All right, I got a ton more to get to, but we went long. A lot of important stuff, big stories out there, and I'll just save them. We got a show tomorrow, don't we? We got some stuff going on. We got more hearings, a new Chinese app that's a top in the App Store. Scary stuff. We are on the verge of, it sounds like, some sort of a Hamas peace deal. All that I'll get to tomorrow, though. In terms of email, I got another rash of great email from you guys. Very long. I will read all of your long emails. I love them. I had a lot of long ones. I can't read the long ones on the air completely unless they're just out of this world, can't miss. So if you're reading them, if you're sending them because you want to get on the air, which I love, then got to be a little bit tighter than what I saw the last 24 hours. And if you're writing them because you just want to communicate with me, I will read them all. So absolutely, I'm reading them. I'm getting them. I'm loving them. Aloha at alexmarlow.com. I recommend going to the Breitbart Fight Club. Catch up on my interview with Joel from Ground Zero, where we've done several in a row. We'll move on to the hearings, I think, tomorrow. Thanks to our producer, Misty, who did a yeoman's work today. Sheeter played very full. And so thanks a lot, Misty, for all your hard work. And to all of you in the audience for telling 10,000 friends and family members about the broadcast. Can't thank you enough. Talk to you tomorrow.